Okay, let's just dive right in. If you're ambitious, if you're out there trying to build something, a career, a business, a life, you've definitely met them. Obstacles, those frustrating, just infuriating roadblocks. But what if they're not actually in your way? What if they are the way? That's the huge idea we're going to unpack.
So all of this is grounded in the work of Ryan Holiday and his fantastic book, The Obstacle is the Way. Think of it like a modern-day operating system, but it's based on this timeless Stoic wisdom. And it's all designed to help you turn any trial you face into a massive, massive triumph. And here it is, the central idea, coming straight from a Roman emperor, of all people. It feels totally backwards, right? The very thing that's stopping you is actually the key to moving forward. So how on earth does that work? Let's get into it.
To really wrap our heads around this, we've got to start with a story. It's this old Zen parable that just perfectly illustrates the entire philosophy, and it gives us a whole new way to look at our own problems.
So picture this. There's a king, and he's worried his people have gotten a little too soft. So he puts a giant boulder smack in the middle of the main road. I mean, it's a total shutdown. Nobody can get through. Then he goes and hides nearby to see what people are going to do.
So who comes by first? Of course, the kingdom's richest, most powerful people. And what did they do? Oh, they complain. A lot. They blame the king, they curse their bad luck, and then they just walk around it. They saw it as nothing more than a major inconvenience. But then, a single peasant shows up. He doesn't complain. He just sees the problem for what it is and gets to work. He pushes. He strains. And when that's not enough, he gets creative. He disappears into the woods and comes back with a big branch he shaped into a lever. And with one final push, pop, he moves the stone. And here's the kicker. Underneath where the boulder was, the king had left a purse full of gold and this note. See, the reward wasn't found by avoiding the problem. It was found by going through it. The opportunity was hidden inside the struggle itself. So, how do we become that peasant and not the complaining courtiers? Well, it comes down to this simple, repeatable, 3-step framework. 3 disciplines: how you see the problem, what you do about it, and the inner strength you build to endure. Perception, action, and will. Let's break them down one by one. Everything, and I mean everything, starts here. The first discipline is perception. It's not really about what happens to you, is it? It's about the story you tell yourself about what's happening.
You see, our perception is basically the lens we view the world through. It can be our greatest strength, or it can blow up our problems until they look completely unbeatable. The whole game is learning how to control that lens, to see things for what they really are.
And here's a super practical tool the Stoics used. They divided the world into 2 columns: stuff you can't control and stuff you can. Wasting your time and energy on that left column, it's just a recipe for frustration and misery. All of your power, all of your opportunity lives right there on the right. Which brings us right back to Marcus Aurelius. Think about Reuben Hurricane Carter. He was a famous boxer, wrongly thrown in prison for 19 years. They took away his physical freedom, sure, but he refused to let them take his mind. He chose not to be harmed. He turned that prison cell into his own personal university. He controlled his perception, and in a very real way, he stayed free. And the good news? We can actually train ourselves to see more clearly. It's a pretty simple 3-step process. First, practice objectivity. See things as they are, not worse. Second, get a grip on your emotions. Panic has never ever solved a problem. And third, you have to actively look for the opportunity. John D. Rockefeller did this during the financial panic of 1857. Everyone else saw a disaster, he saw an education. In that perspective, well, it made him a fortune. Okay, but seeing things clearly, that's just step 1. It's completely useless if you don't do something about it. And that brings us to our second discipline, action. This is all about turning your new perspective into directed, persistent, and creative movement. Check out this guy, Damascenes. By all accounts, he should have been a nobody. He had a speech impediment, he was sickly, and his inheritance got stolen. But instead of just accepting that fate, he took action. He literally trained his voice with pebbles in his mouth. He shaved half his head to force himself to stay inside and study. He relentlessly went after the people who wronged him. His obstacles literally forged his greatest strength. Or take Amelia Earhart. She got this terrible offer: be the first woman to cross the Atlantic, but only as a passenger, no flying, no pay. And she said yes. Why? Because it was a start.
It created momentum. That first imperfect action gave her the fame she needed to fund her real dream, flying solo across the Atlantic, which she did just a few years later.
The lesson here is absolutely crucial, especially if you're an entrepreneur or trying to build something from scratch. Stop waiting. Don't wait for the perfect product or the perfect investor or the perfect time. The time for complaining is over. Just get moving, now.
So what does the right kind of action look like? Well, it's about starting now, just like Earhart did. It's about being persistent, like Edison trying thousands of filaments for the light bulb. It means staying in motion, like the famous General Rommel who said, "Where Rommel is, there is the front." You have to be the driving force against your own problems.
But what happens when your perception is clear and your actions are blocked? What do you do when you've tried everything you can think of and you're still stuck? This brings us to the final and maybe the most important discipline of all, the will.
Your will is that part of you that nothing and no one can ever touch. External events can't break it. It's your resilience. It's your grit. It's the strength that lets you get up one more time than you've been knocked down. It's your final trump card.
The Stoics had this incredible metaphor for it, the inner citadel. Just imagine you have this fortress inside of you that no one can ever break into. When the world throws its absolute worst at you, a failed business, a brutal rejection, a project falling apart, you can retreat into this citadel. It's the place where you stay calm, collected, and ready to go again.
Okay, let's bring this all home. We've walked through the 3 disciplines. Now, let's see how they all lock together to create a complete philosophy for moving forward, no matter what's standing in your way. See, this whole thing isn't a straight line. It's a continuous loop. You face a problem, you adjust your perception to see it clearly, you take directed action to break it down, and when you hit a wall, you lean on your will to endure. And that endurance powers you right back to a new perception and a new action. It's basically a flywheel for resilience. So we end with a question for you to take with you. That funding you didn't get, that job you were rejected from, that difficult project you're struggling with. Stop seeing it as just a roadblock. Look closer. What is it trying to teach you? What opportunity is hiding inside of it? Because that obstacle, that's your path.